Welcome to today's Collaboard webinar with the title Mastering the Digital Whiteboard, Advanced Work with Collaboard. I'm looking forward to give you an introduction on how to use Collaboard in workshops and meetings. And to make it a little bit more fun, we start with a small story. Yeah, so Michael prepared for an on-site workshop. He created a PowerPoint presentation he wants to show over the beamer. He made some nice drawings for the flip chart, and his facilitation kit with all the sticky notes, the pens, and everything is packed for the workshop. But then, unfortunately, one day before the workshop, Sophie here called him and tells him we need to switch to a hybrid workshop because not all the attendees can be in the meeting room. And that's a little bit the problem for Michael because he's already prepared everything and how he has only one day left to bring his concept of the workshop, which we prepared to do in the real world, to a digital pendant. So Michael remembers, my last hybrid workshop didn't went well. Which tool shall I use for that? And then out of this questioning, he confidently says, challenge accepted. I'm using Collaboard for that. So how does our hybrid workshop look like? So we have here an on-site meeting room with some audio video equipment. We have a few people on site which will attend the workshop. We will have a few people online who are calling in via video conference tool. And now the goal is that everybody meets on the whiteboard and everybody can collaborate in real time. And the cool thing is we can even use Collaboard to create a presentation directly on the board itself without leaving the board. So this is the setup we encounter more and more often, as for a workshop, not all the people are in the same room. And what we want to do now today is we go into the different tools of Collaboard and we will think about how to prepare everything for these kind of workshops. So let's go now to the next thing. So Michael asked himself, what should I keep in mind when I create now a whiteboard for this hybrid workshop? I need to think about the colors I'm using on the board. I need also to think about the zoom level, so how to design the board that it works well for everybody, where to start on the whiteboard, how to create a flow. Then, as we only have 24 hours to finalize everything, we also need to be fast. So let's think about keyboard shortcut that allows us to do things faster. And then, of course, when all the work is done, I would also like to save it. So how to do backups, or also how to use my own templates so I can reuse what I created now for this workshop scenario in other workshop scenarios as well. And the next question is, how do I facilitate the hybrid workshop? So how do I leverage the facilitator tools like the timer, the voting feature, the drawing attention feature, the presentation mode, and things like that to facilitate the hybrid workshop and create a good workshop experience for all the attendees? So these are some of the questions we are going to answer now. And the first question is, is about the zoom level itself. So an online whiteboard like Collaboard is literally infinite. So you can zoom out to 1%, see a lot of content, and you can zoom in up to 400%. And then you will see everything very detailed. Now, the question is always a little bit, which zoom level to use? So if I'm zooming in at 400%, now you see everything is super big. And if I zoom out at 1%, everything gets very small. So we need to think about a good zoom level. And when you create a new board, then it usually starts at 100%. So this is where you see then here below 100%. And our recommendation is that all the activities should be created around the zoom level of 80%. And how can you check that? So basically you will find here the zoom level. And when you add a new sticky note, then the sticky note is optimized to work in between the zoom level of around 80 to 100%. So it has then a good size to enter content, to modify the sticky notes, and do some other activities with that. So you can use this initial size of a sticky note as anchor on the whiteboard to always be consistent about the zoom level. And this consistency, it's super important. So also make sure that all the headings and the texts you're using on the online whiteboard, that they are consistent. So don't have a text that's super, super big, another one that's super small, because then your attendees, they all need to zoom in and out all the time. And that's not good. So first thing we need to make sure is that when we create the board, we take care about the zoom level. It's a little bit like the speed limit on the highway, something to follow. Don't go much faster, but also don't go much slower. Now, the next question is the color selection. So when Michael creates now the board for the workshop, then in this case, he wants to make sure that the board looks nice. And one thing to do that, it's to take care about the colors on the board. So what can you do? I added here some sticky notes with some different color settings, which you see here. And the cool thing is now, in this case, we could do everything in this blue layout. And in the end, you can display any color on the whiteboard. So if you click here on a sticky note, basically you see here these default colors, which are provided by us. In case you're using Collaboard with an enterprise subscription, then also your company can define these colors for you. So you can make sure that all the boards and the content will be created in the same CI/CD. But then in the end, you have here a color picker and the whole spectrum to choose from. So basically, every color that can be displayed in a browser can be applied to the elements in Collaboard. And let's assume we would like now to make the sticky notes exactly the same green, like the tie here. So in this case, we could also basically use the color picker. I just see there is a small error. So let's just do a short refresh. Very often that solves the error. And let's try it again. Yeah, you see now it works. So we could go now, for example, we need to move a little bit to the right. So, okay. Yes, let's go. Let's take this one again. Let's choose here the pencil. And now we can grab from any image that is on the whiteboard the color and apply it basically to the sticky notes or to any other element which we can colorize directly on the board. And you also have access to all the hex codes. So if we go here, you also see now the hex code of that color. And this is a way you can apply different colors to your whiteboard. Just one recommendation, make sure that you always have sufficient contrast. Also, this is important for accessibility. So don't combine too much red with green or too light colors that are not well visible for the people on the board. Yeah, now when we create the board, we really want to be fast. And one way to be fast, it's basically using keyboard shortcuts. So Collaboard offers you a lot of different keyboard shortcuts. And let me just show you a few, let's say the most important one. So first of all, there is Shift. So what can I do with Shift? If I'm pressing Shift and if I'm using then the mouse and press the button, I can select multiple objects on the board. If I'm doing that, in this case, I've selected 6 sticky notes. I can, for example, change the color of all the sticky notes at the same time. I can also apply some other functionalities like grouping and things like that. So Shift is one of the, let's say, most used keyboard shortcuts on the whiteboard because it allows you to go and activate the multi-select mode just with one key on the keyboard. Another one that's super important is locking content. So when preparing a workshop, I really recommend locking all the things people shouldn't move around or edit. So in this case, this can be just done with Control L, which basically locks now this element. So it can't be changed. And to change it again, I either press here unlock or I press Control N again to basically unlock it. Now, the next one I would like to tell you about is grouping. So let's say I'm selecting these 4 sticky notes, then with Control G, I can create a group out of these sticky notes. So now I can move them all together. I can resize them. I can do all these different group activities directly on the board. The next one I would like to highlight is the escape key. So let's say you're drawing here, you're creating some visual annotation. So in this case, you're entering this drawing mode. Of course, you can click here to exit it again, but by just pressing escape, you also exit the drawing mode, and then you can move around the board. The next one, very obvious, Control C, Control V, basically to copy paste content. And then one of the keyboard shortcuts I'm using very often is delete, just to delete content that I don't want anymore on my board. There is, of course, much more, and Collaboard can also be fully used with the keyboard. So we've implemented that due to accessibility requirements. And if you would like to see all the keyboard shortcuts, just go here to these 3 dots, and then you will find here an option to basically display all the shortcuts available in Collaboard. Yeah, so we have seen, we take care about the zoom level, the colors, we know some keyboard shortcuts. Now let's start creating the flow on the board. So this is what's happening. So how do I guide the people now during my hybrid workshops? And we will look at how to do it visually using the connection feature. We will check the quick links, how to use them to create a clear agenda for the workshop. I will talk a little bit about frames and also about shapes that can be used for visual separation on the board. But let's start with this visual flow on the board. So I added here already a frame. That's the welcome to the workshop frame. And now we see here a line connected to our first activity, which is basically an icebreaker activity. So how do I create now such a path on the board? So what I can do is I can connect here by 2 icons with each, 2 elements with each other. So I connected these frames, and at the moment it's a, let's say, boring straight line. So what we can do here is we can change the line to a curved one, and we want to make it a little bit bigger, and also it should be dashed. And now the cool thing is you see here this option basically to adjust this line based on however I would like to adjust it. So in this case, I can start creating a visual path on the board which users can follow to come from one activity to another activity. Now, the cool thing is here with the frame. So you see this icebreaker activity is already part of the frame. So this means this icebreaker activity, I don't need to select everything to move it around. So now I can just move the frame and everything is coming along. So that's super practical because let's say I'm adding here another frame, and now we can, for example, put a sticky note directly in that frame. We can also use copy and paste basically to bring her in that frame. If she's now on the right side, we maybe just flip the image. And now you see everything is automatically grouped inside the frame. Another aspect is as well that you can lock content in the frame. And while usually you can't move locked content on the board, you can still move it now while it's part of the frame. So if we look here at this icebreaker activity, then we also see, for example, these icons, they are locked, while this part here, this is freely movable directly on the board. So we see now this flow, welcome to the workshop, and icebreaker activity, and somehow they look a little bit like slides, but in a cooler way presented on the whiteboard. So what we can do now here as well, we can start creating a quick link. So let's add a quick link where we say, welcome to the workshop. Okay, that's the first one. And then the second quick link, it's the icebreaker. And now, because we have created these quick links, we can now click here on this compass icon, and we see all the quick links that are already in the board. So we see I already have created a few of them, but now we have here also the new one, welcome to the workshop, and the icebreaker. And by clicking on the quick link, we can now easily jump from one part to the other. So every attendee who is coming into our online workshop, our remote hybrid workshop, they can click now on that compass icon, and then on the right side, they will see the agenda of the workshop. They will see the single activities that have been planned, and it's a chronological order of what's going to happen on the board as well. In case you would like to change the order or whatever, then you can easily move this around, or you can also delete these quick links from here if this is something you would like to do. Yeah, cool. So this is two ways how to create now the flow on the board using these visual elements, maybe also paired with the quick links. And links are anyway super important because you can also guide people with links on the board, either in this case by going here to click on the quick links. But what you can do as well is you can link any object on the board with any other object, and you can also put links to external content. So let's imagine our workshop, and during our workshop, I want people to give a short read of an article in the newspaper. So what I can do here is I can create a link for this object. So in this case, we are using a website. Let's now just use the Collaboard website. And what you see now here is this symbol with this link symbol. And if I'm clicking on that, I'm opening now a website. So that's a cool way to bring people from within the whiteboard to external content. On the other side, you can, as I said before, just create a link to any other element on the board. So in this case, we can select here another object, for example, this sticky note. So maybe now in this case, if we click on this sticky note, we will automatically move to the next one. And something that's also super useful is because when you share a board, so let's say you're inviting someone else to collaborate with you, then what you usually do is you create a link. And you can also use that link here on one board to bring people from one whiteboard to another. So let's assume in our workshop scenario, we're planning some breakout activities. So maybe I put a few doors as images on the board, and then everybody can click on the door, which is linked to a new whiteboard. So this is also something you can do. And these links, they help a lot to guide people directly on the board. Yeah, cool. So now let's go to the next part. So we're going here to the quick link and jump to the next quick link. And when we're creating now things on the whiteboard itself, we sometimes would like to save this as a template because it's about being fast, it's about being efficient. And the cool thing in Collaboard is every object or every group of objects can be saved as a personal template and be reused. If you're working in an organization, there is also the option for organizational templates. In the end, it works the same. these are just managed by your organization. But in our case here, I would like to show you how to create a personal template. And some use cases here are icons I'm using repeatedly for my workshops and meetings. I can store as personal templates, already use it like them. Also, if I have some building blocks, like in my case here, you see the frame with the always same a font as a title. This is something I could save as a personal template. And the cool thing is I can also share templates with others. Now, enough about use cases. Let's have a look on how to create these personal templates. So in this case, using Shift to select everything, we see now, okay, I have 9 objects. I can even see there are 2 images, 2 shapes, 2 text, and 3 sticky notes. Cool, at least good to know. And now we can click here on these 3 dots and say save as a template. It's a personal template, let's say frame for our comic webinar. We are saving now this template, and the following thing has happened in the background. If I'm going to access the templates, then I will see all the default templates in Collaboard. But then I can click here on personal, and we already see, okay, there is my frame, and I can already reuse it whenever I'm on the on any other board. Or what I did, all these avatars we have created for this webinar today, they're also available as a personal template. So in my case, if I am on any other board, I can always reuse that content. And this is another way just to become more productive when working with Collaboard using these templates. And if we add now this new frame, we just put it here a little bit on the left side and the right side. And now we see, okay, I can adjust it, change everything. So it's super useful to create here these templates because it allows you to use it on any other boards. And in case you created now something that you would like to share with someone else, then in this case, you can go here again to your personal templates, and you can create a link to share with others. So there is always a template name. You can give it a password in case your organization requires anyway to use a password when sharing a whiteboard, then this setting is also mandatory. And also this expiration date could look a little bit different when your organization uses a different configuration. But in the end, you create the link. Everybody who has that link can click on the link, and then they will basically create a board with the content from your template. And this is a way how you can share this with others super easily. So we checked how to create the workflow, how to reuse all the content. Now it goes to the real workshop and on how to facilitate now things and how to basically work together and control what's happening on the board. So this is why also this guy here holds a steering wheel, because now the workshop starts, everything is prepared, and we need to take control about what's happening on the whiteboard. And first of all, a super important feature is the option to get the attention of other people on the board. So we will talk now here about the facilitator tools, which you will find on the bottom left. So for example, if you click here, you can draw attention from other people to the same place on the same board. You can do this for a single person, or you can do this for multiple people on the same board. And this allows you then to bring everybody to the same place, and people can continue working on the same board. So that's super important. We don't change anything on the permissions they have on the board itself. Then the second feature is the option to present. So Collaboard also offers a presentation mode. And if I'm starting the presentation mode, then the following thing is happening. First of all the attendees, they won't see the user interface here anymore. So this fades away. In case that I would like to have this invisible, I can activate the focus mode. So you see now we can fully focus on the content we are presenting here. And because also the attendees in your workshop doesn't see the user interface, we also remove the editor permission. So everybody except the facilitator has now viewer permissions on the board. But because I'm the facilitator, I can still change things during my presentation at runtime. Another important thing is that we will see here two buttons, which looks like arrows. And if you remember the quick links before, what we can do now is we can use these buttons to basically browse through the board again. So if you created quick links for all the areas on the board, then you can use these buttons very similar to PowerPoint to jump from one region on the board to the next one. That's basically the idea. And if you want to exit the presentation mode, we click here, we stop it. And now, because I would like to get the user interface back, I can also exit the focus mode. And now I have all the tools available again to make changes on the board. Oops, now let's think this is why you should lock all the things so you don't move them around accidentally. So now in this case, we talk about the timer. So where we only have 10 seconds left to finalize an activity or whatever. So the timer, of course, it's super useful if you have activities that shouldn't take too long. So you can use it from a conceptual point of view, but you can just easily limit, for example, the time people shall brainstorm about a certain topic by clicking here on the timer. It's by default always 5 minutes. You can change this to 99 minutes, 99 seconds, or whatever. And as soon as you start it, you get full control about. I was just astonished that 99.99 equals 1 hour, 40 minutes and 40 seconds. So it makes a good calculation here. But what you get is you have the option now to fully control the timer. So you can either add or remove minutes. You can always stop it. You can pause it. You can continue it. You can stop it. So you as a facilitator, you have a lot of options to work with the timer. And everybody else who is on the board sees also the clock ticking and the time is going down. And as soon as the timer finishes, there is a audio feedback and also a visual feedback. So people know, okay, the time is over. We need now to listen again to what the workshop facilitator is going to say. So this is about the timer. And the last facilitator tool I would like to introduce here, it's the voting option. So you as a facilitator, you can initiate a voting. And that's a cool way to figure out what others are thinking about some ideas or to rate concepts or whatever on the board. And starting a voting session in the end, it's super easy. Let's just let me walk you through that. So basically, we can add here 2 sticky notes. We have idea 1 and idea 2. To keep it super simple, let's just use a different color. And now what I can do, I can start here a voting session. And in Collaboard, there are 2 ways of doing that. There's either a voting where people have a certain number of votes, which they can assign to the elements on the board, or there is a rating. And in this case, people can just rate elements from 0 to 5 stars. In our case, let's say best idea. And in case there are other users on the board, I can also start this session. As I'm the only user now at the moment on that board, I can't start the session, but you usually can pick with whom you would like to start the voting session. And the cool thing is, in the end, you also got an archive about all the voting sessions that happened on the board, and you can easily access them and then review which idea got how many votes on that specific day. Voting and rating is always super anonymously, so we don't know who had done what on the board itself. And it's a great way to collect feedback without the people needing to talk or raise the hand during a call, so everybody can do this. And in the end, you don't know who voted or who rated about what. Yes, and this is the facilitator toolset in Collaboard. One thing more to mention, there is also a laser pointer. A laser pointer basically allows you to do temporary annotations on the board that disappear after a few seconds. So this allows you just to use a virtual laser pointer directly on the whiteboard itself. Super cool, right? So some cool reactions that you can also use on the board itself. Now, the next thing we would like to talk about after looking at the facilitator tools, we check on some other very useful things, and this is text and search. So basically, all the text content on the board can be searched. So if you click here, and then let's put in search, we will see all the search results, and we can jump directly to the search results on the board. So this is super useful. And we also have the option to tag elements on the board directly. So let's say this sticky note has some classified information, maybe classified should be red. We can create this, and then in the end, I can also search for the text as well. And let's say we have now 10 sticky notes with classified information. So maybe either we need to restrict the way how the board is shared, or we transfer the sticky notes just to another board. But the text and searching are super useful. Also, if you work with tasks and other elements on the board, you can use them basically to just structurize and refine content you created in Collaboard. Now, as we are basically creating our whiteboard, it could make sense to save a backup copy of the board. Let's say the evening before the workshop, we would like to save that copy. Then we can easily do it by just clicking here on Save Versions. So we can give a name to that version. And if we save the version, we can always recreate a new board based on this version of Collaboard. Yeah, that's that's it about saving versions. When you saved the versions, you can click here on versions, and then you can restore the versions you already created and use this as a backup copy of the board. Of course, you can always create a copy of the board itself from the dashboard, but then it's not linked to your original board. So if you create a version, you will always see that, and it's a little bit better way to organize and refine this kind of information. Now let's assume we're doing these workshops. A lot of things happened on the whiteboard. So first of all, maybe I would like to know who has done what on the board. And it could be that someone by accident just selected everything, deleted it, and now it's gone. Okay, how do I get it back? So for these purposes, we have here the activity logbook. And in the activity logbook, we see exactly when has happened what on the board. We see here also that, for example, before I changed some of these content. So from the activity logbook, I can jump directly to the activities happened on the board. So it's a very detailed. And in our case, I deleted these 5 objects, so I can also restore them. So in this case, we just need to wait a few seconds, and then all the elements which were deleted are restored. If I'm deleting something on my board, during the same session, I can always use the undo feature, of course, to restore something. But if one of your attendees, for example, deleted something, then this is not possible. And now we see, okay, here are the restored objects. So I can jump back and I will find the restored objects. So this allows you as a facilitator to basically restore everything people have deleted on the board. And most of the time it happens by accident. So you can take a little bit stress away from them and say, okay, we just restored it. Keep going on the good work. Yeah, after reviewing the activity logbook and everything, we are almost coming to the end of the workshop. And at the end of the workshop, it's always important to collect feedback. And then the question is, did you enjoy it as much as I did? And then feedback is everybody was able to participate even without speaking. And I just want to mention that because I think that's a super important. Think about this hybrid workshop scenario. Most of the times, the people who speak the loudest, they're also heard. Introverts or people who don't want to speak out that super loud in front of a public group, their ideas might not be heard. And if you're using Collaboard in a scenario like that, you provide a way that everybody can contribute. Everybody can write down their ideas and opinions or use the voting session to provide feedback directly on the board. And another feedback is that's also super interactive and never boring because we are doing the presentation directly in Collaboard and switching between presenting and interacting without screen sharing, without tool switching. So I think that's something super cool. And if you would like to collect feedback after a session like this, then you can also leverage one of our templates. And I shortly would like to introduce you to the 5 finger feedback, which is actually a cool template. So just to make you aware, you see here the fingers and everything that's usually locked. So you can move it, people can't move it around. While the sticky notes here, they are pinned, meaning people can't move them and people can't resize them. So everything stays in order. If you recall the zoom level, I'm now at 68%. So let me zoom in a little bit. So now I'm 124%, maybe a little bit too far, but a good way now to collect feedback. And the 5 finger feedback, it's just for every finger that is a feedback. So what went well, what could be improved, what went wrong, what was your biggest learning today, what did not get enough attention, or then what else do you want to say? So that's a cool way to collect feedback directly on the board. And as I said before, because everybody can just write in the sticky notes, all the feedback is heard, and you can, as a facilitator, check it out afterwards and review it. Now the workshop is done. Michael is back home in his office, and now we need to share the results with the customer. So of course, people can still access the board. And in case I don't want them to make changes anymore, I can just change the permission. So in this case, I just provide them with viewer permissions. So if I'm doing that, everybody who has access to the board can only view the content, but can't change it anymore. But one of our attendees, they're traveling home, and we know they need to board an airplane. And in the airplane, they don't have internet, and Collaboard needs connection to the server. So in this case, the solution here is to export the results. And what can we do here? We can export either the entire board as an image or a PDF, or we can export selected areas. So let's say we just want to select here this part with the shift control again. Then in this case, we can click here on export selection. There are many different image formats from PNG, JPEG up to SVG. I can define if I would like to include hidden objects. I can also define if the export should have the highest quality. I can also do a PDF or a text export and save this content then from the board in a much more static way. If I want to do it for the full board, you will find here the export feature. And in this case, it could be nice to create a PDF. So let's select here PDF. And we can now export a PDF. In this case, it will be just one file. But maybe I would like to print it out because what we have worked on should be always visible for the people coming to the office. So in this case, you see, I can also divide now this PDF, for example, in 12 pages, can select the page format. And now I have something I can also print out in the end. So that's the idea here of this more advanced way of exporting the PDF. Yeah, cool. So what have we seen today? So we looked at this scenario of building a workshop in short time, transferring it from on-site to hybrid. So we looked on how to create these paths on the board, how to think about the zoom level, the color coding. We checked together some keyboard shortcuts, which are very useful to you. We looked at the facilitator tools, the templates, which is something I really want to emphasize. The templates is a big game changer when you create a lot of boards. And I really hope this session was valuable for you today. So thank you very much. And this time from the real Michael, I hope you learned things that helps you to master the digital whiteboard and to work better with Collaboard in the future. I will have a look now at the chat if there are any questions. And of course, while working with Collaboard, if you face anything you would like to discuss, feel free to reach out to me or my team, and we're happy to jump on a short session with you to check this together.